So
But we appreciate every one of you who did come.
what's really funny is they have no idea what panel they're about to get. So listen, I know you guys are fans of these three, but for just a reminder of what they've done, we have a little bit of a sizzle reel. If you can play that, please.
I ran so far away. I just ran. I ran all night and day. Reached out a hand to touch your face. You're slowly disappearing from my view. From my view.
Maximum effort.
I ran so far away. I just I ran all night and day. I couldn't get away.
Me. Run.
I couldn't get away.
I love Statham kicking. That's my favorite part of the sizzle reel, just when he's doing that kick.
I have to tell you, the bass is so powerful up here on the
I know.
stage. I had an orgasm. Really shaking the stage.
Gentlemen, I want to jump in right from the start. What do you think would surprise everyone who's here is a fan of movies? So I'm curious, what do you think would surprise fans to learn about what it's like making a movie in Hollywood?
John?
What's surprising about that? I think what's surprising is that at the end of the day, you get access to lots more money and time and things like that, but it really still boils down to just the same thing as when you're making a little small video or just shooting something on your phone for TikTok. Like, you're still just trying to get this one little moment in a frame. And so as big and as crazy as it gets, you're still doing the same thing that you've always been doing. For me, at least.
Yeah, same. It's true. You get very excited. You sometimes have out-of-body experiences when you realize that you're on the biggest set you've ever been on, with the greatest movie stars, with every tool, every toy. But then in the end, yeah, you sort of like laser focus on what you need to get, and that it never changes. It doesn't matter if you have visual effects or no effects. If you have one actor or 2,000 extras, it's the same thing.
I would say it's both surprising how easy it is to make a big movie because the crew knows their job so well that they can probably do it better if you leave them alone. But at the same time, the skills that you really need are the same skills you need in everyday life. You need to get people to go in the direction you want them to go without hating you, and you need to basically have a vision for what you want to make, and then people will follow it.
And movie making is very collaborative. It's all about collaboration. We're not painters, we're not sculptors, we're not photographers, we're movie directors. So we need a crew of 10, 50, 100, 500 people, but they all follow us in a sense, just to bring a vision to life, and it's really beautiful. It's actually a really emotional moment when you realize that, you stop and you look around and everybody's doing what you had in your head. That's actually really, that's like the best feeling in the world.
This is probably the most important question I'm going to ask today. Who wins in a fight between Spider-Man, the Terminator, and the Fast and Furious gang?
Yeah, family, he said.
Family win.
Family.
Fuck no. I'm going to have to say Spider-Man.
Yeah, Spider-Man.
Yeah, I think Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Because Spider-Man is us. Spider-Man is all of us. Spider-Man, is a guy who, happens to. Well, talk to. It's your movie. I'm talking about Spider-Man.
Spider-Man is really strong.
But Louis does want to direct the next Spider-Man movie.
I need to direct a
He's
Spider-Man.
pitching to
Spider-Man
direct.
is really strong. Spider-Man's going to win,
Yeah.
right? Right?
Listen,
Is there a right answer to this question?
no, this is what I like, is the debate.
But you know what? Nobody's ever shot Spider-Man in the face. Like,
It's
what
true.
if the
Like if a
shot
Terminator
Spider-Man in the
robot
face?
was just like giant machine gun just shooting Tom
Yeah.
Holland in the face.
In his face, yeah. I think
He'd
maybe,
probably-
maybe Spider-Man would lose in that.
Probably die.
Maybe.
I'm going to leave that alone and just say, so one of the things about the Director on Directing panel is that we get some people to send in questions. And so the first question comes from someone named Dave Franco.
Hello, Mexico City. My name is Dave Franco. I have a question for Louis Leterrier. We worked together on the first Now You See Me movie. And on that movie, there were two actors, Jesse Eisenberg and Mark Ruffalo, who had both worked with David Fincher. And both actors said that you do more takes than Fincher. And I guess my question is, why? I miss you, bud. I miss doing 50 takes for you. And to the rest of the panel, I'm curious how many takes you average per setup.
They were just saying that to make Dave feel better about how many takes
that's
he had to
actually
do, right?
the key thing. I told them, we're going to need to do a lot of takes on Dave, because he's learning. He's a young guy, No.
Then like you're doing a lot of takes too.
I got better. There was something, because I shot on film, Now You See Me, and when you went past 1 million feet of film, Kodak used to send you a bottle of champagne. And I got a few bottles of champagne. I really love champagne. But no, I'm getting better. I'm averaging between 3 and 7 takes these days.
John?
I feel like if I'm doing more than 7, I'm not doing something right. So when it starts getting past 7, I feel like, I need to figure something else out. But I had an editor once go and look at a movie I had made and tell me which take I ended up using. And it was almost always either the second take or the 7th take.
7.
I average 7 or 8, and it's the same thing with John, where the editor who's done both of my movies, Julian Clark, just told me, he's like, I just assume I use the 7th take. That's the one that's in the movie. He's like, no, you usually use the 3rd or 4th take, which means that my directing is making it worse.
I want to make sure I pronounce her. We have another fan question, and I believe it's from Natalia. Is that how you pronounce?
Natalia Reyes.
Yes.
Natalia Reyes.
Hi, amigo. It's Natalia Reyes, your favorite actress in the whole universe. And I want to ask you something. Is it true that you are such a gringo that when we were shooting Terminator Dark Fate and we were recreating Mexico City, you thought that everyone in the street scenes should be eating tacos and wearing mariachi hats? I love you.
That's aimed at Tim.
Yes,
Is this
that's
true?
Yes, that's true. It is true. And I was disappointed that when they weren't doing it. But I will say, I think this is important for the Mexican audience and like Hollywood filmmaking. They told me that the scenes that were shot that were supposed to be in Mexico, the studio said, we want you to shoot it in English. Like the actors are speaking in English. And I said, well, they're in fucking Mexico and and they're Mexican. Why would they speak in English? And they said, you have to shoot it in English. And I just didn't do it in English. I just did the takes in Spanish, and it was too late by the time they saw it. Yeah.
So, a question for me. One of the things is technology is changing all the time, and what I think you guys know, Gareth Edwards shot The Creator using essentially a store-bought camera from Best Buy that costs like $3,000. So, for the three of you, what technology have you seen behind the scenes that might be coming out soon, or technology that you've seen that's out right now that has really impressed you and you think is like really going to help make movie making better or cheaper, or it's just a cool toy?
I don't want to go first.
I'll go first. I got to use all the cool stuff on my most recent Star Wars show. You know, we had like previs, mocap, we shot on the volume, we did everything. But the most fun part was we also used all the old school techniques as well. We got Phil Tippett to do stop motion. We did matte paintings, like real old-fashioned matte paintings. We got an ILM painter out of retirement to come out and do that. So to me, it's all that stuff is fun, but it's just another tool, and it depends on how you use it.
Yeah, what's most exciting these days is the democratization of the tools, which means that not just us, the three guys here on stage that have directed, giant movies, are going to be able to direct the movies of the future. But it's very much you guys with all your cameras, your editing tools, visual effects. You are going to be able to bring your vision on screen, stuff that, because I'm old, I wasn't able to do when I was young. So now, this is most exciting. We're going to be able to see stuff we have never seen before, thanks to that.
I do a lot of animation in addition to live action, and I got to say, in that arena, I'm pretty excited. The real-time technologies with software like Unreal, and there's some tools in AI is both terrifying and exhilarating, but there's some tools there that make it a lot easier. But I think that it's what Louis says is right. It shouldn't be this expensive to make great movies, and I really love the fact that people can do at home in their bedroom what would have taken thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to do before.
Who wants to be a filmmaker here? There you go. Well,
there's no
soon.
excuse. No excuse not to do it.
See you soon on this stage. It'll be a big, long stage with all of you guys.
For the next fan question, have any of you seen Mr. Robot? Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Sam Esmail.
Hey guys, what's up? This is Sam Esmail. I'm a huge fan of all three of you. I had a quick question. So I'm doing this thing where I'm completing the filmographies of some of my favorite filmmakers. I just finished John Carpenter a year ago, David Cronenberg, De Palma. I'm right now making my way through Don Siegel, and I just saw Charlie Varick for the first time. Blew me away, one of my favorite Walter Matthau performances of all time. Check it out if you haven't seen it. But my question for you is, what's your favorite filmography, or at least one of your favorite filmographies?
Who wants to start?
I'll go first. I'm embarrassed to say that I only recognize two of the names that he mentioned. Yeah, the only filmography I've done is Jim Cameron and David Fincher, and that's probably fucking it. And if you don't watch movies like Citizen Kane or all these really classic movies, it's okay, because I don't either, and I make movies in Hollywood. You don't have to watch those movies.
You're laughing at.
I've just completed the
I'll say
filmography
something really
of
pretentious.
Louis
What's yours gonna
Leterrier.
be?
It's like yeah.
And John Watt, and I started with Clown Car,
Yeah,
and I've worked my way forward.
My turn. Because we're in Mexico, you guys have many amazing filmmakers, but currently you have three of the greatest filmmakers alive: Guillermo del Toro, Alfonso Cuarón, and Alejandro Iñárritu. These guys are absolutely amazing, and I've watched everything they've done. I'm in awe of all of them, and I wish I was the fourth amigo, el cuatro amigo. No.
He does speak Spanish.
Yeah.
The blatant bit of.
Whenever there's a problem at the restaurant, Tim goes like, "Hey, Louis, what did he say? What's in this?" Yeah. John?
Scorsese. I like movies, I like filmmakers where you see them as a person over the course of their work, and you see them change, and you see them evolve and try different things. And I go back to his movies more than anyone else.
We have another question. This one comes from someone named Daisy.
Hi, Mexico City. My name is Daisy Ridley, and I have a question for all three of you. You have all directed cool action scenes, but which was the biggest pain in the ass to get right?
I need to think about it. There's so many that were pains in the ass. Someone else go first.
Okay, I've done so many action scenes. I've done scenes for Transporter in oil. I've done scenes with Unleashed in small quarters. I've got huge car chases and races and everything. It is all very difficult. Action scenes are all very difficult, but it's at the end of the day, if you keep it safe and then you know what you're doing, and you're surrounded by the best crew, and don't do something that you don't know how to do. Don't risk anyone's life or threaten anyone. So trust the best, and really don't push people to go past their limits. But Fall Guy is coming out this weekend. It's a love letter to stuntmen. I hope that the stunt community is recognized, and there's a stunt Oscar in the next Oscar ceremony.
I think they announced that, didn't they? Did
No.
it be a stunt? No?
They're still
They're trying.
They're still debating?
trying, yeah.
Easily the Terminator sequence where the plane is crashing, the big the big transport plane, because there's zero gravity and centrifugal force, and sometimes gravity is this way, sometimes it's that way, and when you shoot out of order, it gets really complicated when you're having to tell the actors which way gravity is on any given shot. And we had a big set that was movable, and so you could get a sense of that. And then the week before we were going to shoot, they found asbestos in there, so we had to shoot 2 weeks on a flat stage and pretend. So it was tricky.
Mine is also airplane related. When Tom Holland is fighting the Vulture on the outside of the invisible airplane in Spider-Man Homecoming, that just took forever to figure out how to actually make it look like what we wanted it to look like, because it was like a made-up technology with these LED screens, and it just took forever. And you didn't know if it was going to work until it was rendered, so you had to wait. It's kind of a boring answer, Daisy, but it's true.
For all three of you, which film of yours changed the most in the editing room in ways you did not expect going in?
Now You See Me, for me, Los Ilusiones, because there was we had to move the storytelling around, and I was trying a lot of stuff, and that's the reason why I had to shoot so much, Dave Franco, because I didn't know. I wanted to give myself many options in the cutting room. Dave Franco.
I think most actors would say, aren't you supposed to have a vision of what you want and not just shoot a bunch of shit and then figure it out later?
Yeah, Louis.
Yeah, Louis.
That's my whole career. Is like, kind of.
I would say the biggest change for me was in Deadpool. There's a montage in the middle where Wade Wilson becomes Deadpool. And originally, and the way we shot it was Ajax, the bad guy, goes to jail, and Deadpool is waiting for him to get out. And we shot it and edited that way, and it seemed like the movie just kind of died in that middle section. And then one of the producers said, what if he doesn't go to jail and Deadpool is chasing him? And I felt like a fucking idiot, because I'd been working on that movie for 6 years, staring at that scene, and it was so obvious that that was the best solution, and I didn't see it. So luckily we could still do reshoots, and we went back and reshot it, and it worked much better.
And that's also true when you have a film. That's what I learned on the first Spider-Man, is that when you have a film that has a lot of visual effects that are only being started sometimes after you finish shooting, and while you're editing, like there's not really a clear line anymore between you're shooting and then you stop and now you're editing. Like you're always editing and you're always moving things around and you're always changing things because it's very malleable until the very, very end.
But also the thing about Marvel movies, from what I understand, is that Feige and people are obsessed with plussing the film, which means, I guess.
I hope that's not just a Marvel thing. I hope everyone is always obsessed with making their movies better.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that Marvel has a tendency, or at least from what I understand, like they always allow for like a week of reshoots or whatever that number is. Like they know that once the.
Did you say a week?
Yeah.
That's cute, Steve. Right. That's really cute.
Whatever the number actually is,
Hold on. Did John?
Just a couple days of pickups at the end. Yeah.
Did you do Did you do it under the regular Marvel system, or was it because it was Sony?
I had a totally unique setup where I had Marvel and Sony.
Oh, fun.
Together at the same time.
How fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things right now that's going on in Hollywood, this is a serious question, is that I know a lot
Team.
I know a bunch of filmmakers that are normally able to get their movies made that are struggling to get the green light. And it seems like it's a really tough time in Hollywood. Studios seem scared. Like, what's your feeling for each of you about what's going on in the industry? Have you heard that? Are you feeling it? Are you hearing stories from fellow filmmakers about the difficulty of getting things made right now?
Yeah, it all depends on the box office. If the world goes to see movies are fine. The problem is that because now there's so much to see in different ways, doesn't mean that people are watching less movies, but they watch it differently. The movies that have gotten very expensive because of visual effects, because of crews, because of salaries of actors, not directors. Directors' salary needs to remain the same. Very important. But I think everything has gotten a little bit too expensive, and that's why we need to. I think the system is readjusting itself. It's not disappearing. It's readjusting itself. But yeah, something is happening, and yeah, it's scary out there.
I mean, movies are expensive, and it just comes down to brave people who are able to write that check or greenlight that movie to say, you know what, let's try something different or try something unique or encourage a new voice. That's what you need, and it's cyclical, I think. A really interesting movie will come out, and then suddenly everyone is interested in making really interesting movies, and then they get nervous again, and they start making, more old-fashioned kind of stuff, I guess you'd say. And I don't know, it comes down to the people in those positions of power being able to greenlight things that are good.
I have to say there hasn't been anything I've ever made that was easy to get made. I directed Deadpool when I was 50, and I'd been trying really hard. So it's like I was Louis' age now.
Yeah.
When I first directed my first movie, and I was trying really hard, hundreds of meetings, decades of trying and failing to get a movie made.
Yeah, but you also you are one of the greatest visual effects creator in the world. You are.
You missed the opportunity there. You should have said, "But you are."
But you were
not a really talented guy.
It.
So it does
because you're not a director.
If only we could show the video from Fincher. Just throwing that out there.
If only you had talent.
If only, yeah.
It is important though to think, because I do think that every rejection for me was a little knife in the back that I used to try harder. I didn't feel like it was unfair or I didn't deserve the shot or whatever. It just meant that maybe I wasn't ready, maybe the timing wasn't right, and I would just my biggest advice to filmmakers is keep showing up. Don't stop, because you're going to have a lot of rejections before you get an accepted thing, if you ever get it. And I feel like one of the luckiest people on the planet to have gotten a chance to make a movie.
Well, that's the one thing about technology that's amazing, is that you can, with willpower, you can make a movie. It's just really up to you to do it. You know, that especially with that camera from Best Buy. And granted, it's $3,000 is a lot of money, but it's a theatrical looking camera. And you know,
It was still a $90 million movie.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, I'm not knocking that. I'm not talking you're going to create the creator in your bedroom, but I'm saying you can make a movie now with technology. Anyway, let's move on.
You can make a proof
Kids
of
are doing
concept.
like amazing VFX online, just on their own. Like, I'm just so blown away by some of the stuff that you see, just people making in their bedroom.
But also the Godzilla -1 director, a team of 35 people, including the director, did those visual effects, and they won the Oscar. And the movie, like, you can't believe it was 35 people that did that.
Yeah.
You know, so
movie's great.
We have another fan question. This one is from someone named Diego.
What is up, Comic-Con Directors Panel, Mexico City? How's it going? It's Diego Boneta, and I have a question for Tim Miller. What's up, dude? So, Tim, I remember when I went to your office back in 2018, you had a sticker on the back of your laptop saying, "Don't be a dick." My question is, do you know how to say that in Spanish? Yeah, I thought so. So being that you're in Mexico City, my hometown, I thought we should maybe update that sticker to one in Spanish. And here's my idea. It's not a direct translation. No mames, pinche Tim. What does the audience think? ¿Qué piensan? Abrazos. Take care, guys.
Can you translate that for me, Louis? What does he say?
You know exactly what it says, Tim. That's your life.
This is embarrassing to admit, but we cast Diego on the movie, and I just liked his sample tape. I didn't know that he's so big in Mexico City until we came here for the premiere, and people were just like, I thought Arnold would get this big reception. Oh no, it was fucking Diego. They were going crazy for Diego. It was crazy. He's a big actor here, and I had no idea.
We have another fan question from someone named David.
Hey, Mexico City. David Leitch here, the director of The Fall Guy. New movie coming out. Go see it. I have a question for the directors on the panel. If you could take on any IP, why would you do it? What would it be?
John, you haven't answered the question for a long time.
I don't want to take on IP. I want to come up with my own original ideas.
That's beautiful.
Or Nightmare on Elm Street. I love Nightmare on Elm Street.
There we go.
I think Nightmare on Elm Street is so cool, and I think you could keep making Nightmare on Elm Streets forever.
So can I pause this? In all seriousness, if the studio came to you and said, do you want to do Nightmare on Elm Street, is it the kind of thing where you would say, yeah, let me get writing?
I would really, really have to think about it. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. I think they're so great. I love those movies.
Sure.
Why aren't there more of them? No, you guys.
Exactly. Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street. You know what Nightmare on Elm Street is? Freddy Krueger. Should John Watts direct the next Nightmare on Elm Street? You heard it first here.
Louis, you didn't answer your question.
I've done so many of these. I agree with John. It's like I think now every IP today is stuff that was, you know, an original movie in the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. I want to go back to that moment in cinema where every week you had Back to the Future, Ghostbusters, Matrix. Like your mind was blown every week, and you weren't waiting. I'm directing Fast and Furious 11. I'm not going to criticize that, but the 11th of it. But I say like let new movies become IP. New movies become franchises. I win. Thank you.
I love books and comics almost more than I love movies. And I'll just say that the books of Joe Abercrombie are these dark fantasy books, and they are my favorite books of all time. And I will make a movie based on a book by Joe Abercrombie before I leave this earth. That is my pledge. So it's Joe's books. And if you haven't read them, they're fucking amazing. Start with one called The Blade Itself. They're beautiful. No, not beautiful, they're great. Gritty, fucking people getting killed, but also beautiful. Yes.
I'm curious, question for me. When you decide you're going to make a movie and you figure out who your DP is going to be, what is the first thing you discuss with your DP in that first meeting?
Can I ask another question? We were just talking about this. As a director, do you do this? Or that? Or this? Tim?
My answer was, I'm not a very good director. So I lean on the crew. I'm not very good with cameras and lenses. And when they ask me what lens should I put on this camera, I'm like, I don't fucking know anything about lenses. So I'm terrible. And the first question, I'll answer Steve's question. The first question I ask is, will you help me make it look good so I don't look bad? Because I don't know what I'm doing. And DPs everybody thinks, oh, you're just saying that or you're being humble. And I'm like, no, really. I really don't know what the fuck I'm doing. You must help me. So that's my first question is, can you help me not look stupid?
Help me, please. There's no, to me, there's no, here's the first question that you ask. It's a relationship, and it's a creative relationship, and you have different tastes. And so it just starts to be this sort of ongoing conversation of, do you like how this looks? Or do you like how this looks? Or do you think this looks bad? Why do you think this looks bad? Why do you think this looks good? Because there's no sort of simple language when you're dealing so closely creatively with someone like a cinematographer. So it's just it's like dating. It's early, you're just sort of getting to know each other and figuring out likes and dislikes, and that's what it's like for me.
So how many days of shooting are you in when you fuck? Can I ask that question? When you sleep together.
And on that, next question.
I'm
sorry if there are
getting
any kids in the audience. I'm really
It's good to do these panels because I just was able to stop myself from such a response. This is good practice.
Steve invites me to these panels just because I say these kind of things.
No, but Louis, you didn't answer the question.
DPs, you read the script together, you go see movies together, you get nerdy about movies, and that's what's exciting about the relationship with the DP. You talk about cameras, about tools and toys you're going to use and everything. But if you do this, they hate you. They go like, that guy's not a director, he doesn't know what he's doing.
Well, I'm curious. Roger Deakins is famous for using one camera. Roger Deakins, if you don't know who he is, very famous cinematographer, just a master cinematographer. And he's famous for using one camera on set and not doing coverage. And because the one camera is what the film is going to be. For all three of you, how often are you using one camera when you're shooting, and how often are you doing coverage on everything?
I usually shoot at least 2, and if I can, 3. More than that, it starts to get self-defeating unless you're Ridley Scott, who shoots 8 cameras. I don't know how you do that, but he manages to.
I do one unless it's a scene where I absolutely want both performances captured at the same time. But I try to do one camera all the time.
And if Roger Deakins was to shoot Fast and Furious movies, we would still be shooting the first one.
What is my next question? Oh, there's a question from someone named Bryce.
Hey, Mexico City and my dear friends. Bryce Dallas Howard here. I've got a question. So what advice would you give yourself if you were emerging into the industry today in 2024? I ask this because I went to school with John Watts. We were around each other when we were literally teenagers. So that's why I'm asking.
It's true. We went to school together. If I I would give myself the same advice now that I would want to have been given to me back then, which is to try to make your own stuff. Don't try to guess what you think other people are gonna like, or what will sell, or what will be commercial. Just make the things that you want to see, because you can waste a lot of time trying to think about what other people are going to want to watch, and that's time that you'll never get back.
Yeah, it's kind of the same answer, but I would say keep shooting. Shoot. Don't wait to be perfect. Perfect never happens. And even if it happens in someone's eye, it doesn't happen for somebody else. So keep shooting, find your voice, find your vision, learn how to deal with people, because again, directing is really communication, with a crew, with a cast, with an audience, and eventually you'll find what you perfectly want to do. That's it.
Yeah, if you're waiting for the circumstances to be perfect for you to make your first thing, you're never going to make it, because it's never going to be perfect.
I think it's contextual, the question of, because it's when it's asked. At what part of your career do you want to do something different? But I already gave the first piece of advice, which is just keep showing up. That's the first one. And the second one is, I would say, take any job in the industry you can get. You will always learn something. And if you're around filmmaking and other filmmakers, you will find opportunities to do what you want to do, or to prove your worth, or to prove your knowledge. And you will get opportunities, and it'll change the course of your life and your career, because you're there. And if you're not in the room, you're not going to get those opportunities. So anybody that feels like, oh, well, I'm too good to do that job, or I don't want to get anybody coffee, I say, fuck that, get him coffee. I waited tables for 10 years. It doesn't matter. Just get in the room any way you can, and you'll learn something.
What was your first job in film industry?
In the industry? I got a job at a place that made medical films. And so the first film I directed was So You Have a Sexually Transmitted Disease. It's true.
How fitting.
This is not a joke. Yes, but I got a job making graphics, and then I fell in love with computer animation, and that I'm still in love with it now.
Well, the other thing is that I've been lucky enough to be on some film sets, and the things that you think you know when you're on a set, it all goes out the window. It's just, as you said, being there is just such an education.
Yep.
This next one is from a filmmaker who I love. His name is Shane Black.
Hi guys, it's Shane Black here. I have a question for the group. So, my old teacher, Michael Gordon, talked about rehearsal. He used to say there's two approaches, two words. One is from the Greek, proba, which means to explore. The other French word, répétition, repeat, over and over. So how much of the movie along the way do you just find once you start making it? Sort of like in The Nice Guys, Ryan Gosling finding a corpse, doing an Abbott Costello bit. That's not in the script. But it's great. So how much of a movie is discovery versus what Hitchcock famously said, which is, no. You write it, you storyboard, you rehearse, and the filmmaking process, shooting it, is an afterthought. What do you guys do? Has the movie gotten better for the willingness to be collaborative and find those happy surprises as you make it? Or have you gotten in trouble by not sticking to the script? That's my question.
By the way, before you guys answered, he sent that from Australia, where he's shooting something called Parker. And that was like basically Video Village, which is where, do you guys want to explain what Video Village is?
That's where the director, the script supervisor, some producers, hang out and, in front of monitors and scream at actors to be more emotional.
I'm never in Video Village, ever. I'm down I have a monitor near the actors, so I can run out there and tell them shit. It's the lazy directors that sit in Video Village.
Are you calling out Louis?
Well, yes.
You're the greatest director that ever lived, with 2 movies.
How many movies have you directed?
10?
2. So there.
How much do you figure out as you go along? That's a good question. In your movies, do you like putting it together and then shooting exactly what you planned and it comes out exactly what you did, or do you?
100%. I come extremely. No, I'll answer the question. I come extremely prepared, and the moment we start rehearsing, that shot list goes out the window, and then you start sort of taking influences from the light, from the actors, from the camera, from this, from that, and it happens when you write the script, when you shoot the movie, and when you edit. And you might discover your movie when the first poster comes out. You're like, yes, that's the movie. That's the right.
I mean, even Kubrick, who was like the most meticulous planner, he'd take years and years and years to prepare his movies. He said that you don't really know what the scene is or how to shoot it until you do your first rehearsal. So I don't know. It goes both ways, at least for me. Sometimes you go in and you're like, I know exactly how I want this to be, and you shoot it and it ends up exactly like that. And then sometimes you go in and just someone does something so much better than what you were thinking in your head, and you just have to be ready. You have to keep your eyes wide open and be ready to pivot to just make it the best version that it can possibly be.
I'm curious though, because one of the things about movies, and you've touched on it, is they're very, very expensive. So when you're standing on set and you are talk about that balance of trying to be in the moment and find what's the best version of the scene that you're shooting, while also having a producer in your ear saying, or a line producer saying, we have to make 6 more setups today, we have to get going.
Well, it's definitely a luxury to be able to hang out on set and explore the space and try and figure out the scene. Not everyone gets that, in which case it's good to rehearse it ahead of time, without an expensive crew standing around. That's for sure.
Always plan. I don't even understand the world in which you go, yeah, let's just go out here at $200,000, $400,000, $600,000 a day and fuck around and find it. I'm like Louis. I've got a plan. It doesn't mean that you don't. I mean, if you say, I thought he would say the line after he sat down at the table versus it actually works better if he says the line as he's walking up to the table. Those things change all the time based on the actor's rehearsal. But here's another thing. When you do a rehearsal with the actors, they never give 100%. And so it's only when the cameras start rolling that everybody actually brings their A game. That's when shit starts to change. And you go, well, fuck, you just walked through it before. And now you're going to sit down at the table. The biggest critique I ask, like what I could do better to the script supervisors and everything, a week or so into shooting, and they always say you shoot too many wide shots, Tim. You shoot too many wide masters. You should go in tighter soon. But to me, that's where I'm finding out the whole plan I have is what would people do in this situation? Does this line feel natural to say this way as you're walking into the room, or when you're already standing next to the other character?
And also, I plan because I'm very, very nervous, still very nervous coming on set. I always think that I can direct, I don't have this one or everything. So that's my security blanket. Some of us will say that I still can't.
There's not a single day I've ever walked off a set and said, I fucking crushed it. I nailed it. Every day I walk off saying, oh my God, I could have done so much better, or I failed here, or everybody says some variation on this in the industry, but they say Gone with the Wind in the morning, Murder, She Wrote in the afternoon, which means in the morning you're trying to do this.
We would say Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah.
Dukes of Hazzard in the afternoon. You're trying to get it like you're making a big important movie, and then in the end of the day, you're just trying to get shit done. It happens to everybody. There's not a single day that happens.
Do you guys sleep? Can you sleep before the first day of shooting? I've like sleepless nights, whether I shoot Fast and Furious or like a butter commercial. Like I can't sleep. I get super nervous. I'm like, can you guys sleep?
I have some pills for you too. Some drugs. You can buy them, and they help it.
I'm curious. Oh,
I sleep great. Sorry.
That's me.
Clean.
I'm just like a nervous guy.
I'm curious for all three of you, though, going back to what Shane said, can you give an example in each of you where something that you dramatically changed something on set in one of your films, like what scene that was and why?
You mean what it dramatically changed on set?
So like say you had it. So let's talk about Deadpool. Say you originally. Well, you touched.
I could talk about Terminator because there's a big border crossing scene that started in Mexico City and it went all the way across the U.S. border. And I have to tell you, I wrote a pretty fucking kick-ass border crossing scene that had a lot of moving parts to it, and over the course of time, it got cut down. Days got cut due to budget. We were shooting in this big lake in the mountains of Spain, and a storm came and blew all our equipment away. And at the end of the day, I was left with a sequence that one of the producers kindly said, "Tim, this is like a bad MacGyver episode, and you just have to get through it as quickly as possible." But what I had in my mind was like pretty amazing, and what's on film is not worthy of, I think, the moment, especially in light of, you know, today, what's going on. And I still regret it to this day.
I can say that when the three Spider-Men meet each other, we didn't really have a bunch of script pages. We had like a little bit, but a general idea. And I thought, this is just such an amazing opportunity to have these three guys together. Let's just start rolling the cameras and see what happens. And I would like throw out things for them to talk about, like subjects, and they were just there talking as three Spider-Men to each other. So a big chunk of that scene is pretty made up.
I have to pause this and just say, it's crazy to me that when you finally have the three of them together for that filming day, that the dialogue and the pages are not like ironclad.
Well, because it always changes, because until, it's the thing you're saying, like until everyone is really there in their wardrobe on set, it's not really real until that moment. And then that moment is different from when you're sitting alone in a room typing it up or imagining what Tobey Maguire would say. Like until you're really there, you're not really there.
I just want to say that John has the biggest balls of any man on this stage, if that's the way you go into shooting, because I could never do it.
He sleeps at night, he doesn't write pages, and the guy makes $2 billion with every movie he makes. Come on!
He just shows up on set and said, "Hey,
shows up
let's
with
run
his
the
perfect
scene.
hair
Let's run
and
the scene." Yeah.
Let's just riff, guys. Let's just riff.
That's bold.
I want to be John Watts when I grow up.
Yeah.
I do want to do a follow-up though. How early, when you were, because I actually don't know the answer to this, did you know when the film started, was Toby in? Was Andrew in? Can you talk about like when you knew those two guys were going to join? And what?
Yeah, they were definitely in before we started.
Well, you know, but
that was.
He didn't know if they were going to show up on the day. That's how cool he is, man.
No, they were definitely in. We weren't exactly sure about all the other pieces, like who was actually going to be able to come back and who was going to be available and all that. But definitely, we knew that the three of them were going to come together.
So this is a question about, we've talked about it a little bit about like the future of Hollywood, and one of the things is that Hollywood and the financiers are constantly trying to find that balance between IP that the audience knows and original storytelling. I will commend Donna Langley at Universal Pictures for putting forward a slate that champions both IP and original storytelling. But most studios are really pushing towards IP. So can you, all three of you, talk about what is the future of, and you know what I mean? Like, do you get offered meetings on all this IP that studios are trying to make or bring back?
They're running out of IP. That's the thing. It's like everybody's running out of IP. They try to keep going. But again, it's going back to what we were saying before. Donna knows, because Donna grew up when we grew up, and she tries to create new IP with the Fall Guy, with Megan, with Five Nights at Freddy. They do stuff like that just to create new IP. So then there's new franchises. But what do you guys think?
I would say there's no lack of, and if everybody doesn't understand, IP means intellectual property, meaning established franchises or ideas. And as someone who reads a lot, there's an endless amount of cool shit out there that can be adapted. But the economics, somebody has to say, I want to make a Harry Potter film, or it has to be successful enough as a book for somebody to say, I'm going to take a chance on the movie. And that gets harder and harder. But I understand the reason there's a mix, because studios have to make money. And if you looked at the economics, a single big hit movie makes more money than a lot of medium-sized or small movies. So it's hard to argue with that, even though as filmmakers we all want to make new ideas and take risks, you know?
I don't know if you wanted to add something.
Oh, just about IP? I mean, I don't know. I think there's always... I don't think people just want to see something that's exactly what they think it's going to be. That's what AI can do. AI can give you exactly what you think you're going to see, and that sucks. Like, the whole point of making movies is to make something original and something that no one has ever seen before. And I think people just have to keep being reminded that when a great movie comes out, people go to see it because it's great. And the crutch of IP, I think, gets in the way of people making, more interesting original stuff.
One of the things about movie theater, listen, I think movie theaters, they're my temple, they're my their church. I love seeing movies in a movie theater. But one of the things about after COVID and with the quality of television, more and more, and just TikTok and what's on your phone, more and more people are content to watch things at home or on their phone, and it's a real problem. So for all three of you, what do you envision like the future of movie theaters to be? Do you think they're going to survive, or do you think we really are on borrowed time?
I think there's always going to be movies. Movies are great. It's a communal experience. It's like going to see a live show, It's like there's always going to be a demand to go to see movies. It's just our job to make sure that those movies are good enough that people are going to want to go see them.
Yeah, exactly. I remember every movie and how I saw it and what popcorn I ate and who I was with when I saw it on a big screen. And I remember also loving these movies much more than when I discovered them on TV. And yes, movies we need together, we have to fight for movie theaters to stay open. You, the audience, have to fight for movie theaters to stay open because, without movie theaters, cinema is not going to be the same. Cinema will still exist, but without movie theaters, it'll be a smaller art, I think.
I don't have an opinion on this. Of course, I want to make movies, but honestly, what I think what's great about movie theaters is where can you go on date night? Where can you take your daughter and sit and have an experience with her that is that overwhelming? Where can you go with your friends together that is that absorbing of an experience? I mean, yes, you can go dancing, but or you could go out to dinner. But it's a singular experience that you share together. It's like reading a book, the same book that your friend is. It's just like a shared experience that nothing else matches it.
We were trapped at home for 1 year, and the first movie we all saw, everybody saw and loved so much, was your movie, John. So thank you. I mean, again, like that experience was so beautiful. My kids got dressed up. People were loving it, and really, that's the power of movies, and you showed that. So thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Thanks.
You saved cinema, John, with your perfect hair and your long nights of sleep.
That was such an extremely cathartic thing for so many people to go see that movie, and it was so much beyond what I did or what any of us making the movie did. It became something bigger than that, and I think it speaks to this idea of needing a shared, communal, emotional, cathartic storytelling experience. And that's what movies are and will always be. So
there's something.
I don't think they're going anywhere.
There's something else I commend you on for that film, and that is you included Toby and Andrew being in the film drove the plot. It was important. It wasn't fan service, and that is to me what everyone responded to was that you weren't just like trying to appease fans. You weren't
just cameos. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was a part of the deal that I made with those guys. I was like, it's not just show up, shoot some webs, collect a check. Like, you have to be a fundamental part of the story, and that's what they wanted. you know? And so it was, yeah, it wasn't, I mean, it was fan service. It was like such an extreme fan service, but they were also, you know, part of the story.
Let's. We have another fan question. This one's from someone named Simon.
Hello, Simon Pegg here. I have a question for the panel. I've had the pleasure of working with Louis before, but I've never worked with Tim or John. So my question is to Tim and John, what the fuck is wrong with me? No, my question is for all of you. Is there a film that you can remember from your... Fuck off! Is there a film that you can remember from your childhood that you can pinpoint as the moment you decided you would like to be a filmmaker? And if so, what is that film? Also to Tim and John, what's wrong with me?
Guys, what's wrong with him? He's the greatest. Simon Pegg is the greatest actor alive. I think you have to. He played Chamberlain in Dark Crystal. He's absolutely amazing. He's the greatest man. You have to work with him. Who starts? Tim Miller.
I didn't even know what like a filmmaker, like what a director did. Like I'd watch Hitchcock movies and stuff as a kid, but I never thought, oh, I want to go make a movie. Like it was so far out of reach, the idea that you could make something like what you were seeing. Like for me, it wasn't until I saw like Eraserhead or something in high school where I was like, oh, that's like a movie that just some weird guy made. And I was like, I could do that. Like that was the first time that being a director seemed like an actual thing that I could do.
You saw it as a child?
And I was like a teenager by then.
I was in my 30s, so just, yeah. And the reason I've never hired Simon Pegg is because he makes those Mission Impossible movies that take like 3 years.
He's never available.
Yeah, he's never available, yeah.
By the way, can I just interject? What you saw for Simon, he was on the set of Mission Impossible 8.
See?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's why we can't get him.
You know, they're actually about to stop shooting. I think they're just about to wrap.
Finally, get my Simon back. And then for me, it was because I grew up. My dad was a filmmaker. My mom's a costume designer. I grew up like in the French business, but it was quite different. And then one day I saw in a movie theater again Evil Dead 2, and that day changed everything. I was like, I want to do that. And I kind of knew how he did that.
Yeah, it's the exact same feeling.
I think I understand how he does that, and yet I'm moved by it, and I love it. And the audience is scared shitless and all that stuff. I want to do that. That changed that blew my mind, changed my life. Anything else? What about the audience?
Yeah, let's move on. We have another. This is actually, I think, going to be our last fan question, and I'm not even going to say who it is because you're all going to recognize him.
You would think that Jon Favreau could like get better sound.
Yeah, I was just thinking, isn't it funny that
kidding,
all
John.
these people in the film industry, and that's what they do for a fucking living, and their videos are so shitty. Like
that speaks to how important it is to have a good crew.
That's a crew. It shows that we need a crew. We're useless without a crew.
Well, listen.
I just want to say that the two actors who filmed videos for me, they were the most well produced.
Definitely much better.
Two. Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, because they were Mexican. Yeah. They were Mexican actors. They know.
Colombian, Natalia.
We should say that John. What was John doing? Can you say? Or should we not say?
I think he was scouting for Mandalorian.
Yeah, he's making the Mandalorian movie.
Movie.
I think he was on a picnic. Let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, Mandalorian is going on a picnic?
Yes,
yeah, that's what it is.
With Grogu. No, but listen, I appreciate John sending in the question, and obviously there's a lot of wind, but let's talk about what he said.
Do you have a good answer for that question? I don't know that
I didn't even hear the question over the wind.
It was like, how do you make sure something is funny if it's going to have a bunch of visual effects? Because like on set, you don't know what the visual effects are going to be. So how do you?
Because aren't you watching it on the little film strip in your head?
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, it's true. Like on Deadpool, Ryan had, let's say, some problems in the editing with the Colossus scenes because it was a guy in gray pajamas, and he's like, it's not funny. And I said, well, because it's a guy in gray pajamas, it's going to be an 8-foot-tall fucking metal dude. And that's not his voice. It's going to be this big Russian actor. So, yeah. But that's what I was seeing in my head the whole time. I knew it was never going to be. It wasn't going to be a guy in pajamas.
Yeah, and sometimes it's people really get worried that the scene isn't going to work, and then when you finally transform the man from having gray pajamas into having skin of steel, then it works. But it's just, you just have to. I don't have a good answer for that question.
Comedy is very hard. I can say that testing with the audience is a great way, where you film the audience and you play and you have alternate jokes that you can use, and you can just watch the audience and see if they laugh. I know it sounds so stupid and simple, but it's great to be able to see.
Like, you know if something's working or not working as soon as you show it to an audience.
Yeah.
Because if just silence, and you're like, oh well, we blew it. Yeah, you're right. It's just that you maintain that timing in your head from the very beginning.
That's
you
exactly
just really hope that at the end you were right.
Yeah, because we all make the three of us, we make those movies with a lot of visual effects where we shoot the actors, months earlier and reshoot them, everything. But we have to sort of like almost scroll our timeline of a video edit back and forth as we shoot, as he gets up, and keeping your vision and knowing what you want to do, and then adjusting it as you go. But yeah, it's Spider-Man, Deadpool, they're amazingly funny movies because you guys have are masterful with technology and also are funny guys. I love you guys. I love you, man. I love you.
If you watch the previs for the Deadpool 12 Bullets fight, the previs is what we shot. It is the scene, just better realized.
Yeah, you have to make sure it works at the early stage too. Because if it's not funny then, it's not going to get funnier. It has to work in its roughest form. And if that works, then you're only going to be able to make it better. But not the other way.
So I have some individual questions, and I'm going to start with Mr. Tim Miller. So I'm curious, you're working on adapting Alien Legion at Warner Brothers. What can you tell people about it?
Alien Legion is a comic book that came out, written by Carl Potts. And like I said, I'm a huge comic nerd, and I always loved that comic.
Closer to your mouth, like the voice said.
And the what? Is it this?
There you go.
Okay, it's got to be closer. I got a piece of advice from an executive one time and said the easiest movies to sell once you've made them are the ones that can be explained by the title, like Kung Fu Panda. Everybody gets it, right? Alien Legion, I think everybody understands what that's going to be, the French Foreign Legion with aliens. And I always loved the comic book. You can tell it's going to have a lot of creatures and strange personalities, and I'm just excited about making it. I had the original ones that I bought. I am not that guy who just signs on to a movie because there's no passion for the source material. You've got to love it.
Will Best Served Cold happen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it will happen somehow, some way, despite the fact that whatever obstacle people put in my way, I will make that fucking movie.
We talked a little bit about on the Omelette stage, or Omelette, but I listen, I love Death and Robots, and
why am I getting all these? Why am I being singled out for questions here, Steve?
I told you it's going.
Start with you,
Okay,
then
okay.
John, then me.
Okay.
Yeah, it starts on that end.
Okay.
Yeah, I said I was going to do this. So, what can you tease for people that have not seen? There's going to be people out here who've never seen Love, Death, and Robots.
What?
There you go.
What?
So, A, do you want to just tell people real quick what it's about? And B, what's the status? You guys are working on season 4?
If you haven't seen it, what's wrong with you? It's the best show on Netflix. It's won 13 Emmy Awards. But, awards don't mean anything except, in our case, it is a mark of quality. The shows are great. They're a bunch of different stories told in different styles of animation because I love animation. And there's something for everybody. There's horror, there's comedy, there's sci-fi, there's fantasy. And I love it. David Fincher works on the show with me. We bring in a bunch of directors from all over the world and work with studios all over the world. And it's just a great show. So the next season has, I can't say, it has a bunch of stories, and they're all good.
Where are you in the development? Is there any chance it's out this year, or it's more of a next year?
You know, they don't tell us. Netflix won't tell you when you're going to go on air until you finish the show.
Okay.
In my experience, maybe they just don't trust us.
So David Fincher directed a phenomenal episode last season in season 3. Is there any chance that he will do any in the future?
I would say there's a high percentage chance of that happening.
Yeah.
When you say high percentage, is it close to 100 or is it more like 1?
A high percentage chance.
Okay, I'll leave it there.
You know what? It's surprising, but when I first met David, he's a huge fan of animation, and he said, let's do a project together. And I laid out like 10 different things on the table. And one of them was a heavy metal movie. And he said, fuck, let's do this heavy metal movie because we can do all kinds of different animation and explore. And that, in the fullness of time, became Love, Death, and Robots. He loves this show and animation.
Yeah, and again, I really want to emphasize, if you haven't seen it, you should really make the effort. Louis, I'm now putting my focus on you.
Oh.
So I think people know that you directed the last Fast and Furious movie called Fast 10. What is the status of the final Fast and Furious film?
It's happening. It's happening very, very soon. I'm able to shoot a little horror movie this summer before Fast, but I'm finishing my horror movie on September 15th I start Fast on September 16th.
When you say start, is that like pre-production?
Yeah, we have to prep. Yeah. It's like
Tyrese just did an interview recently where he said that it was going to start shooting early next year. Was he lying, or is that pretty accurate?
Tyrese is always right.
So
watch his Instagram. Yes.
Being for real though, do you think it's filming early next year?
Yes, it's filming early next year, and it's coming out in 2026, which will be exactly to the day 25 years since the first one came out.
One of the things that I'm so curious about is the first film started small, LA story, never was envisioned as what it became. But as the franchise has gotten bigger and bigger, they've become these huge spectacles. And the final movie, are you already thinking about how do I balance the spectacle with also trying to bookend it with the first film?
You should be a screenwriter in Hollywood. Yeah, it's exactly this. That's what we want to do. We want to bring it back home. And still have a great big journey to tell.
Have they announced that this is the last one?
Yeah.
Did they? Until it makes $1 billion, and suddenly there's going to be another reason to make it.
I'm willing to go on a ledge and say this is the final Fast and Furious movie.
Why do you say that, Steve?
Because everyone...
They all die at the end of it, so they can't make any more. They just all...
Louis, what do you think? This last one?
It's the last one until the next one.
Is that because they all finally have enough money?
The end of the road is near.
Yeah, listen, I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do with the last one. Vin has said that he knows exactly how the film ends. Do you know at this moment how it all ends?
Yes. So it ends...
John just told you.
Oh, sorry. No more time. Sorry, we have to have other questions. There we go.
Sure. Well, actually, I do want to touch on, it just got announced that you're directing a horror movie this summer. Talk a little bit about what was it about this film that said, I want to make this, and tell people what it's about.
First of all, it always starts with an idea and a script, and that script by Matthew Robinson was genius. And Matthew writes comedy for Ricky Gervais, but he also writes Star Wars movies, and he writes he's an incredible writer. And I grew up, so I went to see Evil Dead, and that was the biggest shock in my life. And when I came home and I was watching TV, I was watching Twilight Zone. And the Twilight Zone show was mind-blowing, and I realized that's the sort of stuff I want to do. And I started my career doing action movies, and I've done action movies and superhero movies and magic movies and puppet shows and everything, but I was never able to do sci-fi, horror, psychological thrillers, and with this one, I'm able to do finally my Twilight Zone homage.
How long? So you're shooting this summer. Where are you shooting?
Starting July 29th in London.
So it's a 6.
July 29th to September 15th. There you go.
When will you be announcing the cast?
Next week.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, look.
And it's great cast. It's an amazing cast.
Steve's like, couldn't you have done it a week early?
I mean,
come on.
Couldn't you do it right?
I announced a movie for you yesterday.
Oh, I do appreciate that. I do. Okay, John, I'm going to focus the lens on you for a second. You did such a great job with the 3 Spider-Man movies. They're moving forward on another one, obviously, without you. And I'm curious, as someone who was in the thick of it for 8 years of your life, is there any advice you would give the next Spider-Man director in terms of just things to look out for, or just like,
Yes.
Just talk to me. I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm right here.
When you're directing the next
Yes,
Spider-Man,
yes, tell me.
I have a very practical bit of Spider-Man advice, and I think every Spider-Man director goes through it. It doesn't look good when someone is just swinging on a rope. You think you're going to go in there, you're like, we're going to do it all practical, we're going to get stuntman, we're going to be swinging around. It's boring. It looks dumb. It looks like a monkey swinging on a vine when you put someone on just a rope. Don't waste your time. That's my advice to the next Spider-Man director.
So basically,
that's very practical advice.
You got that, Louis?
You got that, Louis?
Yeah, okay, yeah. No rope swinging.
But so
there's no like Christopher Nolan thing here where it's all going to be real, it's all going to be in camera. Doesn't work. Doesn't work.
After Clown,
It doesn't work for Chris Nolan either.
I would like to see Christopher Nolan's Batman.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Wait,
I mean Spider-Man. That would be pretty good.
Spider-Man.
Do you think he would do it without visual effects?
Yeah, just he'd find a way to climb on the wall. He'd figure it out.
Yeah. Inception. Yeah, that's great.
Or Tenet.
Big giant rotating like city building.
Or Tenet, where you just run the film backwards and call it visual effects.
So you have a film that you co-wrote that comes out later this year called Wolves. It has no actors anyone in this room has heard of.
I wrote it. I didn't co-write it.
Oh, I'm very sorry. Wrote. I
Thanks.
apologize.
Damn.
Yeah, he threw it.
I'm proud.
So for the audience and for people watching this at home, what's Wolves about? And talk a little bit about how you got George Clooney and Brad Pitt to be in the film.
The pitch is that it's 2 lone wolf fixer characters who are forced to work together over the course of one long night in New York City.
And listen, they get offered a lot of scripts. So what was it about this? How did you get them?
He wrote it.
I wrote it for them. I wrote it with them in mind, and I wrote to
did you really?
their relationship. Yeah, it's for them, and they liked the script.
What if
they
had
agreed to
turned
do
you
it?
down? What if they had turned you down?
Yeah, who would? Yeah.
Yeah, if
I don't think you could do it with someone else.
Simon Pegg and
Simon Pegg.
and when it's Tom Holland and Simon Pegg, you would say, "I
2
wrote the script for
fixers.
the 2 of you, with the 2 of you in mind."
Yeah. I mean,
yes, the character's name is Brad and the other one's name is George. But
I wrote it for you.
I always saw you in this role.
yeah, they liked it.
Moving on to something else, you're in post-production now on your Star Wars series.
Yep.
So for people that,
Star Wars Skeleton Crew.
Exactly. So for people that don't know anything about Skeleton Crew, what is it about? What can you tease people?
What am I allowed to say? It's about a group of kids that find a buried spaceship on their boring planet, accidentally turn it on, get blasted off into the galaxy, and it's the story about them trying to find their way back home.
Is it one of these things where, so basically you could watch this without having seen any other Star Wars stuff?
Yeah. You don't need to have really any prior Star Wars knowledge to enjoy it, but if you do, you can enjoy it on many levels.
Do you think they're doing D23, which is another convention in September? Do you think that's going to be where fans finally get their first look, or?
I don't know.
You really don't?
I really don't know. I think probably D23 is when we're going to show something, but it's like Netflix. It's like, we don't know. They tell us when they're going to release things to the public.
And here's my one last thing. So,
and Jude Law is in it too, and he's great.
Yeah, he's okay.
Yeah, he's great.
You made Clown and then Cop Car, and then you were hired to make a huge Spider-Man movie at Marvel. And I just have to know, like, when you were hired and they're going into set on the first day, are you like, what the F am I doing here? Or did you have like that utmost confidence that I can nail this?
I mean, when I found out that I got it, that was just like the most incredible moment ever. You've been working so hard to try and make something big, to be given this opportunity, and then you get it, and you just can't believe it. It feels like a dream come true. And then there's a beat, and then you start to realize, oh, now I have to actually do it. And there's so much pressure. You just immerse yourself in it, and you just try to make the absolute best possible thing you can, and you have to put all of that other stuff aside and just focus on really getting the movie one shot at a time. And Kevin Feige always says that making a Marvel movie is like jumping out of an airplane without a parachute, and you hope that you make the parachute, you hope you finish the parachute by the time you hit the ground. And it does feel like that, and it was like doing that 3 times in a row. So it was, it's pretty intense.
All 3 of you have made films that have built-in fan bases. Can you sort of talk about what it's like making a film where you need to appeal to the fans, but you also need to incorporate new ones?
Go ahead.
I am a fan, so I never really have to think about what are the fans like, because it's kind of, what do I like? I will say I made a misstep in Terminator, I think, where, because it didn't do as well, in case you don't know. I'm very proud of the movie, but I thought I knew exactly what the fans wanted, and turns out I wasn't completely right. But normally, I still stand by the decisions I made. I made them because I was a fan, and that's what I wanted to see out of the franchise. So I'm not thinking about what do the fans want to see. I'm thinking about what I want to see because I am a fan. I know that sounds...
But every fan is different. That's what's great about being the fan of something, is like it's not just like one group of people who think the exact same way. Like, you like this thing that you like for your own particular reasons. So you just have to be the biggest fan in your own way, because that's all you can do.
So some directors love to release deleted scenes or to do an extended cut. And I'm curious, for all 3 of you, what's your feelings on releasing deleted scenes and showing extended cuts? And how much are you sort of like the Stanley Kubrick, where I'll burn the footage?
I think if it's a funny scene, it's okay to release it as like a deleted scene, because it's at least, that was amusing. But if it's just like a scene that made the movie slow or boring, like, does anyone really care about seeing that? The movie you release is the director's cut, or at least that's what you're hoping to do.
No, yeah, exactly. It's fun for people to see. Actually, I don't mind showing everything, but doesn't mean that I want to put it back into the movie, but I don't mind showing the stuff to see what we did right and what we did wrong. So that I think it's interesting to see that for people to see the choices we make on set, the choices we make in the cutting room, and why it works and why it doesn't work. I don't believe that putting everything that you shot on screen is the best way forward, and movies shouldn't be 3 hours long anymore. It's like I feel like movies are getting longer and longer and longer and longer. I feel it's like, you edit yourself to give the best version of your work.
Can I actually do a follow-up on that? I personally, like, Matt Reeves, the Batman, was 3 hours. I loved every frame of it because the 3-hour running time allowed you to, like, not rush through scenes like the Riddler at the beginning, standing over the body. That's a 2-hour movie, all of that's gone. So I wonder if these longer running times are also as a result of the quality of television getting better, having more time to tell their story. Like, anyway, that's just me. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I guess it depends for me on the story and whether or not it's worth the 3-hour runtime.
But that movie was special because it was pensive and beautiful and needed that runtime. Some movies are just like, but I'm not criticizing long movies. I'm saying like sometimes it's worth cutting a little tighter just to make the experience more enjoyable.
I would say there's nothing I've ever done that didn't get better by getting tighter. And you'd say about movies, and I would say, is any mid-range director making 3-hour movies, or are these big directors or directors that have done huge box office movies? They're the ones that are getting the chance to do it because they have the power. I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't think anybody makes the best movie when they have too much time and too much money. I think that movies get better by being forced to make these decisions that are not maybe what you want, but they're the best thing for the movie. And there's a lot of things. I'll give a simple example. In Terminator, there's a scene where Natalia Reyes' character learns that her brother and father died, and I get a little choked up. The scene was really powerful, and Natalia fucking crushed it. But it wasn't good for her character. So it was the best take by far. But when you watch the movie with the audience, they don't want to see her character. I didn't share this opinion, but they thought it was a weak moment for her character. I thought it was strength.
What you need to know about Tim, and I'm very sincere when I say this.
I cry very.
Is Tim?
What? Are you crying?
Tim is a very emotional person, and it's one of the things I love about him.
Never for pain, only for love. I cry. No, but it was a great scene, but it wasn't the best thing for her character. And the audience screenings told us that, right? So I want to make a movie that the audience wants to see, and you lose your objectivity. So you need the audience to bring that back for you sometimes.
So what you just witnessed. That's directing. We get so, like, that was amazing. Like, he's being so emotional about images. Oh, that big hulking guy crying next to me. Oh, I'm going to use that. I'm going to use that.
Thank you, Louis.
I actually do want
you hug me. Will you hug me?
I actually do want to ask you a Terminator question. One of the things about the franchise is that I think even Ellison, David, and other people that have controlled Cameron, I think a lot of people think of the Terminator franchise as the possibility of making $1 billion every time. I just don't think that's ever possible with that franchise. I think like the top box office is like 400 million or 350 million. Like there's a finite amount of fans with that franchise, no matter what you do. Do you agree with that? Or do you think that that movie could go 4-quadrant and make 700 or 800 or $1 billion?
Fuck if I know. I mean, if I did, I'd be making that movie, right? But I do think that there's probably somewhere out there someone who could come up with the $1 billion Terminator movie idea. I just don't know what it is. But after we made the movie, Jim said something that I thought was relevant, and actually, who cares about this shit except for us making movies? But he said that the previous versions had been PG-13, and that brought a broader audience in, and that hid a weakness in the franchise. So the movies did better because they were a broader audience. So we all thought, we're gonna make a fucking R-rated movie and it's gonna be fucking Terminator the way it was supposed to be. And people just didn't show up because it was R-rated, I think. It would have been, but I love the movie because it was R-rated.
This is a question for all three of you, and we're almost out of time. One of the big things, especially for like everybody in this room, loves movies, they watch trailers, they are passionate fans if you're here at CCXP. And so what I'm curious about though is how do you work with the marketing department of a studio when you're advertising your upcoming film? Because all too often you'll read, like they'll announce a project and it'll say, the log line is under wraps. We're not revealing what it's about. But inevitably, like you have to start revealing things. So talk a little bit about what it's like holding back shots or not holding back shots, or discussing with the studio what you're willing to share about a film prior to release?
It's painful because the marketing department wants as many people as possible to go see the movie. They would put every single thing, every spoiler, every twist in the trailer if they could. And you want to hold that back so that people can enjoy all that stuff when they go to see the movie. But if you don't make a trailer that people think is going to be a good movie, no one's going to go see it. So it's a constant battle. I mean, I think what's helpful is at the beginning, if you just sort of tell everyone, like, these are the secrets. These are the things we're not going to reveal. Those don't go in the trailer. Everything else you can have. You know, sort of set those kind of boundaries, and that helps.
Can I ask you, with the Spider-Man films, was there something that was in one of the trailers that you were like, God damn it?
Well, no, because I sort of learned that lesson on the first Spider-Man, is that, you know, Kevin Feige and Amy Pascal, they made a lot of movies before, so they knew that you had to be upfront at the beginning. Like, these are the surprises in the movie. You can't put that in the trailer. If it was up to me, the trailer would just be the title and the date. You know, like, I wish people could just go see the movie without really any knowledge, but that's not how it works.
What you have to understand is that the publicity department is who greenlights your movie. There'll be a greenlight committee, and then they'll say, all right, we love the script, we got the cast, the director's got a vision. Can you sell it? And then they'll say yeah or nay, and then that greenlights your movie. Once that's going, they have, they hold you hostage in a sense. The way to do that, and the way to work with them, is to have this constant communication. What I do on set is that every 3 weeks, I cut a trailer of my movie, which I show to the crew, the cast. Everybody gets excited about it. I put a movie, it defines the tone, and I also shoot specific shots or pieces of dialogue, and Vin Diesel is amazing at that. And we do like special pieces of dialogue just for the trailer. They won't be in the movie, it's just for the trailer. And Vin is like, run the camera, I'm gonna say some lines, life is a highway, or something like that. And then that stuff gets used in the trailer. Like the trailer for Fast 10 was stuff that we shot at 6 p.m. on Friday night, because we could, and that really helps. And then you give them fodder, and then they cut great trailers, and then your movie is preserved. But I didn't have to preserve amazing secrets like you did, so it's completely different.
So what Louis is saying is that he is an architect of lies to build a fake trailer that sells you a movie that doesn't actually exist.
No, because the movie will be
illegal.
You know this is going to be online, and it's hard to argue with the many studies that have said the audience will go see the movie if they understand what it's about. So I feel like John does. I feel like I want to be surprised, but the audience doesn't in general. And lots of science behind the fact that they will go see it if they understand what the movie is. So I want people to see my movie, so I'll suck up my wish for things were different and accept the fact that they're going to show more of my movie than I would wish. And I like trailers. I
love trailers.
I get excited.
I do love trailers.
I mean, there's 20 minutes of trailers, and I'm there. Like, I know I could show up 20 minutes late when I go to the movies, but I don't, because the trailers are kind of the best part sometimes.
On that note, I really want to give a thank you to CCXP for inviting Collider to put on this panel here in Mexico City. I want to give a huge thank you to everyone here in the audience. And most of all, I want to give a huge thank you to Tim Miller, Louis Leterrier, and John Watts for being here in Mexico City at
Thank
CCXP.
you, Steve. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
You've been amazing. Thank you.